JT Show.
What's going on, you sexy beasts, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Smash JT Show. And you might be wondering, what's going on with the decor? Why is it called the Smash JT Show? How is this different from anything else? I wanted to make a weekly episode where I just talk about the trending things in the video game industry and focus on divisive issues, present them to you guys in understandable format so that it makes sense, and then we can have an open discussion about it, because there's so many things in the video game industry happening every single week, and I feel like the videos that I'm making aren't enough to cover it all. So why not just do an all-encompassing episode every Friday morning? I'm going to try to release it 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and just focus on those specific topics. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. First thing I want to talk about today is Steam, the storefront owned by Valve, and how they made a decision, a corporate decision, on how they're going to be handling the games coming to their platform for sale going forward. A recent blog post from Eric Johnson at Valve stated, "We've decided that the right approach is to allow everything onto the Steam store, except for things that we decide are illegal or straight up trolling." He continued by saying, "Taking this approach allows us to focus less on trying to police what should be on Steam and more on building those tools to give people control over what kind of content they see." Now, initially upon hearing this, I thought, hey, that's a pretty good thing. But then I saw the resounding response by so many reporters in the media and other prominent YouTubers like Jim Sterling making videos talking about how this is an awful decision, likening it to a grocery store and you bringing in your own food and the grocery store stocking your own food because you made it yourself and they have to sell it because you made it. And I'm not really sure if that's a good comparison. There are other people that look at this and say, this is great for freedom of speech and creativity, and video games as an art. You can make whatever you want and focus on the creativity aspect of the game, and don't restrict the game design to what political agendas are and what people want to see. This would allow for anybody to make whatever they want, assuming they're not trolling and just making a game for pure shock value. I think it's a pretty decent thing. But I want to throw the question out to you guys. Do you feel like Steam opening up the floodgates to any game ever, as long as it's not an asset flip, and as long as it's not straight up trolling, that the game's okay on the marketplace? Or do you feel like this should be something that Steam should be taking a closer look at? Next up, I wanted to share with you guys a really cool video, the smashing video of the week. And this is a video made by Summoning Salt, talking about the speedrunning record for Mario Kart 64's Choco Mountain, which really doesn't sound that interesting on the surface, but if you're a fan of speedrunning, or if you're like me and you're a big fan of Mario Kart 64, this 30-ish minute video on how the record got obtained and these new tricks and secrets that they found while trying to beat each other on the records was absolutely fascinating, and I strongly recommend it. I'll put the smashing link down below in the description for you guys to check out. Moving on, the Atari VCS Indiegogo campaign was launched and was a rousing success. Like, they blew their expectations completely out of the water. Initially, their campaign goal was $100,000, and right now, as of the shooting of this video, it's almost at $3 million, with over 10,000 backers. A few people that decided to back it for varying reasons, like they're a big fan of Atari, they're collectors in general, they love the design of what it looked like. But for me personally, I'm looking at this Atari VCS and I'm saying, what can it actually do? What games is it going to make? What is the value proposition for the people that are looking to buy this to make it worth a $300 investment for the console? On Reddit, somebody highlighted that the game that they showed on the Indiegogo campaign was made by a developer that didn't even know that their game was going to be on the Atari VCS. And that's the only game that they've said is gonna be on the Atari VCS. And that is absolutely mind-blowing to me, that this campaign has raised almost $3 million with no games, no information on what it's going to be able to play or do. And now we have this fact coming to light that the only game that's been showed to be played on it was made by a developer that never intended that game to be played on the Atari VCS and didn't even know that that game was showing up on the Atari VCS. That's just wild to me, and I have a ton of concerns going into the actual release of the Atari VCS. I feel like this campaign was such a success that even if it was supposed to be vaporware at the beginning, now they're going to have to present something. Otherwise, it's going to turn into a whole nother Coleco Chameleon situation just on a massive scale. But I want to throw the question out to you guys on what you think about the Atari VCS. As of me right now, not quite sold on it, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Next up, we have rumors swirling right now that before E3, Crackdown 3 will be announced to be delayed into 2019. Which, if you're not familiar with this whole story with Crackdown 3, it was already delayed far into 2018. And with the Xbox One X release back in November of 2017 promising Crackdown 3 coming later in 2018, now if it does get pushed back to 2019, that's a big deal because first off, there are no exclusives for the Xbox One X. Actually, there are no exclusives for the Xbox One if you consider that every game that's made for the Xbox One has to be compatible with the PC. There's not really much of a reason to upgrade to the Xbox One X still. Crackdown 3 might have been a reason if they were able to update the frames per second or update the resolution and graphics enough to the point to make it worthwhile. But as it stands right now, with Sea of Thieves being one of the few exclusive Microsoft titles to come out in 2018, I'm starting to wonder where Microsoft's priorities lie. I don't really think it's in the console race. But I want to throw that out to you guys as well. Do you feel like Microsoft is backing off a little bit from the console war and maybe putting a little bit more of their effort into PCs and Windows platforms? Maybe they see the future of the console is not going to be in consoles themselves, but actually streaming services? And they see this like a decade before it actually happens? And piggybacking off of that topic, a recent article happened with Variety with the CEO of Ubisoft. Yves Guillemot was quoted as saying, "I think we will see another generation, but there is a good chance that step by step we will see less and less hardware. With time, I think streaming will become more accessible to many players and make it not necessary to have big hardware at home." And with Nintendo Switch having the Resident Evil 7 in Japan streaming from the cloud, and with PlayStation Now, and with Xbox having Game Pass, all these things coming together kind of paint the picture, and you can foresee the future of the game industry going 100% streaming. Which almost makes room for the Atari VCS in a weird way, but I want to throw that one out to you as well. Do you feel like the next generation of consoles is going to be the last one? For me personally, I kind of think it is, because at my house I'm kind of looking like a hoarder with all these video game consoles I have lined up and plugged in. I'm not really sure how many more I can fit, and not to mention the increases in what they're able to do, it seems to be less and less. The jump from the Nintendo to the Super Nintendo was gigantic. The jump from the Super Nintendo to the PlayStation 1 was gigantic. The jump from the PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, still pretty big. PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, meh, decent. PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, negligible. PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, I'm not really sure what more they can do with it. Maybe they can put a whole bunch more into it, but the way it's trending seems to be less and less of a leap and more heading to streaming technology. So again, I'm throwing that out to you guys. Let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about the streaming future? And finally, we got E3 coming up next week. If you guys are interested in the schedule, I'll put that in the description below. If you want to watch it with someone, I'll be live streaming it. But you guys already confirmed that you'll be there. Can't wait to do that. Even though there's probably not going to be any surprises because most of those things have already been leaked, unfortunately. But you never know. Sometimes these companies are able to keep gigantic surprises under wraps even through all these leaks. So it's still worth watching just for that fact alone. And that's where I'm going to end the pilot episode of the Smash JT Show. If you guys enjoyed how I presented the news to you, smash that like button. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button. If you want more information on how I feel about Valve opening the floodgates of games, click the link to the left of me there. And if you're still not a Smasher yet, go to the Smash JT website. Below me, I'll put a link there. It's free to sign up. Already got a ton of people participating in the forums daily. It's a lot of fun. That's all I got for you guys today. You guys stay sexy and have a good one.